Welcome everyone. So we're here this morning with Venerable Khemavamsi from Thailand, currently in Thailand. And my name is Bhante Suddhaso here at Empty Cloud Monastery in the USA. And this morning we'll be sharing a few reflections on the monastic lifestyle of living on alms, of living on the generosity of others, the practice of Pindapata, so how this relates to Buddhist practice, how it fits into the Buddhist teachings. So first we can start by paying homage to the Buddha. So we'll recite the Namo Tassa 3 times, and then we'll invite Venerable Khemavamsi to say a few words on the topic, and we'll have some discussion from there. So we'll start with the Namo Tassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Okay. Now, Venerable Khemavamsi, if you'd like to say a few words on the topic.
Good morning, and thank you, Bhante, Suddhaso, and everyone in the Empty Cloud to give me an opportunity to talk about, this interesting subject that we're going to talk about living on alms, right? Related to Buddhism and how to practice. Living on alms is actually like what we should do, for the monks, female or male monks, and everyone in the Buddhist. For the monastics. The word bhikkhu has the root word, right? That means to beg. This one I've heard from Prajanandayani. She always mentioned about, the one who beg or the one who live on alms food. But the difference between bhikkhuni, like the one who beg for alms food, and the beggar is that we don't go to beg for food like, with desperation. We don't ask like, can I get food? Can I get food? We cannot ask like that. But we have to do in the manner that is proper, and it's like a duty, and also it's good to practice as well, that we learn that we live dependent on other people. So what we do, we have to do good, right? Because when people see us and then give food to us, not like the rich people, the poor people, or anyone who give food to us, they can have that money, to buy food for themselves, for their family, but instead they give us the food. So with that kind of idea, I think it's good for us to, reflect when we do the alms gathering, that we depend, our life depend on someone else. So we have to do good to make more merit and to, cultivate the wholesome qualities and get rid of the unwholesome qualities. So then they who give us the alms food, they have more merit or something like that. So it's normal for the monastic to do the alms gathering, like for in Nirodaram, the place where I stay, and also in the branches. Everyone have to go to the alms gathering. Here in the 7th branch in Mahavanatutangka, we go on the alms gathering 6 days a week, but it's different, different experience to the empty cloud, because you have to walk like very far, right? But here it's just like 1 kilometers or 1.5 kilometers, or just, across the street, then we have food. So it's easier for us that, we can go 6 days per week. On Saturday, the lay woman asked us like, can she come to the monastery and then give food at the monastery so she can listen to the Dhamma talk in the morning. So we skip that day. So normally we have to do like every day. It's like the duty. It's not to get just the food because we cannot like 100% rely on the food for some days. Some days we can like 100% rely on that food, but some day we cannot because we stay like in that time in the past like 4 or 5 monastics altogether. So just two, we're gonna walk like just two because some of them like are old and cannot walk properly. So the one who's healthy have to walk. So we just like two and then take turn. But we do every day. In order to do this, I think for some people, like especially like for me, when I first ordained, I feel like it's kind of awkward, experience because I never asked anyone for the food and I never go to, you know, stand in front of their house and then just stand still and then just look at the bowl, right? Because we cannot look at like, give me food. We cannot do that. So we just, um, um, look down and then stand still and quiet, right? If they give us food, then that's it. That's good. If they don't give us food, and then we have to walk. And the first time that I walked in my hometown, like the place near my house, I felt like very awkward because like I know that person, I know this person, or sometimes like this restaurant I used to go, but now I have to go and then beg them. But after that, I feel like this is the way of life that the Buddha, used to live in the past. He lived, in the forest. There's one ajahn, the one teacher, he used to say like he used to mention that the Buddha got enlightened in the forest, and then he passed away in the forest. He go to Pindapata every day. Oh, no, I think every day. So we should do the same. Should live we should live like just a normal life, not like we don't have to, like just wait in the monastery and let people come and serve us food. We shouldn't do like that. So we should do Pindapata as a duty. And also we should like think of Pindapata not to collect food, that just as Prajan Shah, right? Not to collect food, but to go and be able to meet people and to give blessing, to give Dhamma for them to learn Dhamma. In Thai it's very easy, and in Thai it's just like everybody, when they see this color, this kind of robe, they tend to give us food. Even they accept the woman or the female monks, or they don't accept, they just give us food anyway. But like when I stay in empty cloud, right, it's like the different experience. And I remember the word of Ayya that, like when we walk along a long walk for me, and she said like when you're walking, maybe you just like keep reminding yourself, like to have the joy that how easy for you in Thai. So it's just like oh the piti or the rejoice. I feel like yeah, it's very easy in Thai, but here even though it's hard, but it's worth it. I feel like fulfilled inside that, yeah, this is probably like the time in the Buddha's time that they have to walk a long, long time to get food. So it's a good way to practice the khanti, right? And also to practice the loving kindness and compassion because we live with other people's food. They don't have to give us, but when they give us, then we have to make sure that we do good things. Don't just like waste their food and then try to give back, not to them because maybe just one time to see them, right? But to give back to anyone when we see in the future, something like that. Yeah. So this is like the living on alms in Thailand.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Venerable. So thank you for all your words on the topic. That was really delightful to hear. And so I'll just say a few general words on the subject of living on alms. And so first off, just pointing out that this is something which the Buddha established. So this has been part of Buddhist tradition since the very beginning. So in the time of the Buddha, it was normal. It was normal that all of the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis would go pindapata every morning. They would go out and collect alms, collect food offerings. And so then this is something which it's good to reflect. Why was this something that the Buddha thought was so important? Why is this something which has always been a major feature of Buddhism since the very beginning? And it's because it gives the opportunities for both the monastics and the lay people to cultivate wholesome mind states. So for the monastics, we're practicing kanti, as Ayya Khemavamsi mentioned. So practicing patience, practicing endurance. So sometimes during alms round, we have to wait a long time. Again, especially outside of Buddhist countries, sometimes we have to wait for an hour or 2 hours in order to get enough food. So we have to be very patient. We have to deal with a lot of physical discomfort. So walking long distances, waiting long periods of time, standing in the extreme heat during the summer and extreme cold during the winter. So we have to practice endurance and build up our equanimity. So our upekkha, the ability to be present with our experience with a peaceful mind. And also watching this mind, which is afraid of not getting enough to eat. So food is something which tends to have a very strong emotional effect on us. So often when we're doing alms rounds, there might be this fear arising of, well, what if I don't get enough to eat, or what if I get things that I don't normally eat? What if I get things which it's not what I want? And so we have to watch those fears arising and learn how to be okay with it. So making peace with the fact that we actually don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to get anything at all. And if we do get food, we don't know what kind of food it's going to be. So then it's also a way of letting go of our preferences. So normally it's like, well, I like this food, so I'm going to go and buy this food. And I don't like that food, so I don't have to eat it. That's how lay people would normally think. But as monks, we can't think that way. Instead, we just wait and see what people give us, and we just gratefully receive whatever they offer. So maybe we want bread, but they give us rice, or we want rice, but they give us bread. Well, either way, we're just grateful that someone wants us to stay alive. Somebody wants us to continue practicing the Buddha's teachings, continue following the Buddha's path. So we appreciate whatever is given to us, whether it's the kind of food we like or the kind of food we don't like. We appreciate that this person is supporting the Buddha Sasana and that they're supporting the existence of the Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni Sangha, that they're supporting our spiritual practice. And uh, for lay people, it's an opportunity to practice generosity, so to practice kindness, to practice thoughtfulness. So when you see someone who lives on alms, someone who's living a spiritual life, someone who has put down worldly concerns and is focused on bringing spiritual goodness into the world, then there's the opportunity to support that person, and by extension, to support the whole community of Buddhist monks throughout the entire world. So when supporting even just one bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, by extension, one is supporting all the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in the world. So this is a very important principle to keep in mind. And also noticing how it affects your own mind. So if you see somebody standing with their alms bowl and you think, no, I want to keep everything for myself. Well, how does that feel? How does it feel when we just want to hoard everything for ourselves, when we want to be stingy? How does that feel? Well, the mind feels very constricted and painful. It feels very unpleasant. On the other hand, when we see, oh, I have something that I could give, maybe I'll go and give this to this person. How does that feel? And you'll notice it makes the mind feel spacious and joyful and bright. So last weekend, we were on Alms round, and there was a lady with her little boy. And this lady had just been shopping and had bought a lot of food at the market and was on her way home. And so she gave some money to her little boy and told him to come and give the money to us. And we said, no, I'm sorry, we can't receive money. We don't use money. We can only receive food. And the lady was like, oh, well, I have some food right here. And then she started giving us her own groceries. So the food that she had bought for herself and her family, then she started giving to us as well. So it's that mind which sees, oh, I have an opportunity to do something good for somebody else. And you could see how happy it made her, how she got so much happiness from giving us the food that she had bought for herself, and instead offering it to somebody else, offering it to a group of monks. So this also is what Alms round is doing. It's giving others the opportunity to see spiritual practitioners and to experience the happiness and joy of giving things to bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. And also, it's a reminder. So as people are going throughout their day, what do they normally see? So they see advertisements, they see marketing, they see lots of things which are encouraging them to live in a selfish way. Lots of things which are messages of consumerism, messages of capitalism, messages of materialism. So things which are just encouraging people to be selfish and greedy and stingy and unhappy, unfulfilled. But then they see a Buddhist monk standing peacefully in the market holding an alms bowl. And it gives them a different message, a message that there's another way of relating to life. There's a way of relating to life which is peaceful, which is based upon non-attachment, non-desire, based upon a acceptance of reality, a peaceful mind. And that this is something which also lay people can start to incorporate into their lives, a more peaceful way of living, which is not based upon materialism. And often when people see us out doing alms round, they also ask, oh, where is your monastery? When do you have meditation programs? When do you have Dhamma talks? When can I come to the monastery? So it's also a way of helping people understand that there are spiritual practices that they can do in their own lives as well. So those are a few comments that I'd like to add on the topic. So maybe Venerable Khemavamsi, is there anything further you'd like to add to this?
I agree with you with the Bhante on the. Oh, I forgot to mute the mic. Sorry for that. The one thing that I would agree with you on the when we live on alms, we tend to let go of our preference, right? Prajan used to say like when you are the monastic, when you want something cold, you get it hot. When you want something hot, then you get it cold. So just you cannot expect anything to be just like what you want. You cannot have like this specific thing that you like, but no, you cannot choose. You have to live on the alms. And in Nirodham it's a different story because there's a lot of people, like 50 people up, right? So they have like the canteen as well for the lay people to come and then cook for them. But here in the branch, like the small one, the first time that we came here, we like 100% for some days like, rely on the food. And someday we just got like the all the dessert, like all the snacks and things like that, and without rice, which is like not normal for Thai people to they just give like snacks and then like, Thai dessert or something like that. So we think like, okay, today we're gonna survive with the sugar things, give energy. And we got something like with the pork because we here like vegetarian as well, right? So okay, we just like get rid of the pork and then just eat just vegetable and the sweet things. And then we talk with each other like, I believe in the sila, in the precepts. If you keep the pure precept, then you're gonna survive with just this limited like thing that we have to share with everyone, like the five of us, I think, at that time. But at that time when we start to eat, and then I think there's a lady rode the motorcycle and then offer just the rice. So like, wow, now we have like the rice now. So we really believe in the power of the Buddha, the power of the Dhamma, the power of the Sangha, the power of the Sila, the precepts, the power of the Jaka, like when you give, like the Jaka, the sacrifice, right? And the power of the Deva. We we can live, with just only the alms. It's like different experience. Like when we were lay people, we can choose like, I want to eat this, I want to eat that. And like most of the time we tend to think like, which restaurant should I go, right? Eat breakfast and then after that work, and then think, okay, what for lunch, and then work, and then, oh, what for dinner, something like that. But we don't have this same happiness or fulfilling like the peacefulness inside, compared to when we are like the monastic, that we depend on the food that people give. We eat just like maybe one or two meals, right? But we learn to um, be content with what we have, right? We don't eat food because not for fun, not for pleasure, but for the health of this body, and for this body to continue to do good things, like cultivate the wholesome qualities, and that's all. So, living on alms give many benefits to the mind, to the body as well, because we don't, eat too much and then you just sleep all day on, like maybe gain, weight or something like that. We eat to survive and then to practice in this Buddha Sasana. So for me, I think it's very good, and it's light, and it's, you know, more happy than the what I used to live in the as a lay people, something like that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So at this time we can see if there's any questions or comments. So we'll see what's here. So if you have any questions or comments, please type them in and we'll respond to them. So first off, hello to all the people joining in online. So hello to R. Woods, Richard, John, Sood, Douglas, Dan, Chittapala, Linda, Kit, Jayanta, Peely, Gianna, Yankee, Let It Go, Samin, Niranjan, and Dan. Hello to all of you. And so there's a few comments here. So I don't see any questions yet, but there's a few comments here. So R. Woods here says, thank you for the clarification on the concept of alms. This encompasses a much larger concept of humanity and a more satisfying life and decreased suffering. Yeah, I mean, this is basically the point of the practice of alms round, is that it's another way that we reduce our own suffering. So as monastics practicing Pindapata, it's a difficult practice at times. It can be an uncomfortable practice, an unpleasant practice, but it's a way that reduces our dukkha. It helps us to observe the mind and see how we generate dukkha in the mind and learn how to stop generating that dukkha. So it's similar to meditation in that sense. It's practicing alms round is another way that we observe the mind and recognize how we make our dukkha and learn how to stop making dukkha for ourselves. Yep. And Linda said, "What beautiful reflections! Such a gift, the heavenly messenger of the sight of the samana." Yeah, so as mentioned, that's one of the reasons we do alms round is so that people can see samanas. They can see Buddhist monks out on the streets. So it reminds people that there is a spiritual aspect to life, that there's another, that one can live a spiritual life. One doesn't need to be caught in materialism. Um, And Dan says, isn't it amazing the Buddha set up this Dhamma Vinaya such that the Dhamma was carried by the community, entrusting unsolicited generosity and relinquishment, and it survived 2,500 years? Yes, because this is showing the wisdom of the Buddha. So the Buddha was not thinking just in terms of his own culture, his own time and place, but he was thinking in terms of eternal principles. So timeless principles of how the mind works and what supports the mind's progress towards awakening. And so that's not restricted to one time or place. It isn't something that only works in ancient India or that only works in Thailand or that only works in specific circumstances, but it's actually something which is always relevant. So the Dhamma that the Buddha taught it's relevant everywhere for everyone, every time, every place. And that's why it still works today and even in modern America, which is very different from ancient India. Buddha Dhamma still works because Buddha Dhamma is universal. It's always relevant. And Karuna has a question, so maybe Venerable Khemavamsi, if you'd like to answer this question. Karuna says, could you speak more on the principle of how offering to a single monastic supports the Sangha everywhere?
I'm not sure that I get the question, but how offering a single monastic support a sangha everywhere. I think, um, you know, if you are able to help just one, and people think like, okay, I'm gonna help this one because like we cannot like give food offering to every temple. Like, for example, in Thailand, we cannot give to every temple. So if you support, if you live close to this temple or you like to go to this temple and you support just one and people think the same, so that people support that one, that people support that one, that people support that one. So it's just like everyone support the Buddha Sasana, support the Sangha, as the whole. So I think so. I'm not sure that I answer her question or not, but yeah, I think, right?
Yeah,
Bhante,
yes, I agree with what you're saying. And it's also that when we support one monastic, we're also training our mind to respect monastics in general. So it's not like I am giving food specifically to Ayya Khemavamsi or specifically to Bhante Suddhaso, but rather I'm giving food to this monk that's in front of me, which means I'm giving food to monks in general. So it's building up in our mind the idea that the Sangha is something that's worthy of offerings, that's worthy of support, something that we want to continue existing in the world. So it's training our own mind to support the Sangha. And also, when one Sangha member is supported, then that tends to encourage other people to support the Sangha. And also it encourages other people to join the Sangha because they see that it's possible. It's a way of life which is possible. And then this allows the Sangha to continue to flourish and spread and grow. So those are a couple thoughts on the topic. And we have some more questions here. So Sud says, can you talk about the attitude by which any practitioner, lay or monastic, should consume food? What should be one's intention to progress on the path? Maybe Venerable Khemavamsi, do you want to talk about the attitude towards food? Would you like to speak on this?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. The one that pop up in the mind is the sermon. You use the sermon, right? That we recite before we have the food for the monastics, right? So I think for the lay people can use this kind of like attitude before you consume the food as well. This is actually from your place. That we have to reflect before we use the food, right? That we don't use like not for fun, not for pleasure, not for adornment, not for beauty, only for the nourishment and health of this body and for sustaining my spiritual practice. I will eliminate all unpleasant feelings and I will not produce new unpleasant feelings. In this way, I will be blameless and comfortable. So I think lay people can use this kind of attitude before they like have food as well. Like I don't, like have a lot of lopa or greed when I have food or when I consume, but rather, like just eat food just to survive, just for the health of this body and just to do things that I should do, do your duty or something like that. This attitude will make you like less attached to the flavor, to the like the image. Like if you go to this Michelin restaurant and then people will say good things about you, not like that, but it's just like not to be that picky or like not like um like attached to the food that much, because I used to attach the food, like I have to wait like 2 hours, in the long queue to get to just one specific restaurant because I want to taste that kind of food that is like new in the country or something like that. But when you learn that even the flavor or the happiness when you eat is not long lasting, it's anicca, tukkha, anatta, right? It just sees away, arise and then cease. So why should I, wait for a long, long time to eat just this thing and then to have just not so long, happiness? It just fade away. So when you learn about this and then you, okay, maybe I don't want to eat for fun, for pleasure, for the image in the society, but to eat just to be full and then to, the health of the body and then to make use of this body to do good things, something like that. In Thai, we have the word like when you eat expensive food, one, one full stomach. When you eat just this food, not that expensive, you got one full stomach. So it's just the same. Yeah. So you can have this kind of attitude for you as well. Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And Sarita asks, do you eat the meat or give it away? Is it possible to give alms away or is it against the Buddhist teachings? So this depends on the monastery. And also on the individual monk to make decisions about how they're going to relate to meat. So, for example, here at Empty Cloud Monastery, the monastery is vegetarian. So when people bring food to the monastery, we ask them to only bring vegetarian food to the monastery. But here, when we go alms round, then we practice just receiving whatever is given to us. So normally at the monastery, I don't eat meat. But if I'm out on alms round, especially when I'm in another place, in another country, or somewhere far away, then I'll just eat whatever people give to me. So whatever it is. Um, but sometimes if there's a lot of food and there's enough that I can just eat the vegetarian food and be okay, then sometimes I'll give away the other things. And no, there's nothing against there's nothing in the Buddhist teachings about giving away extra food. In fact, in the suttas, the Buddha actually encourages the practice of giving away extra food. There's one line in the suttas where the Buddha says, if you understood the value of generosity as a Buddha does, then you would not eat even one mouthful of food without giving some of it away. So the Buddha actually encouraged us to be generous with food. And so actually there's no rule against monks giving away their extra food. In fact, it's a good thing to do. So like if I'm out on alms round and I get extra food more than I need and I see a beggar, then once I have enough food for myself, then I'll give whatever extra I have to the beggars, because they also need to eat. And Venerable, do you have any thoughts on this topic? Is there anything you want to add?
For our monastery, because we in Thailand, so we have a lot of, not a lot, but we have, no, we cannot say a lot of, because at that time when we first came here to this branch, not that much food. So we just, rely on what Pra Ajahn used to teach us, that if there's something that you can eat rather than the meat, then you just, give the meat to someone else. But if you have no choice, then it's up to you. It's up, your own decision. But you have to know that you don't like take pleasure in, oh, this is meat, I want to eat. No, that's not like that. But you have to, like see the mind, watch the mind, like, do I really want it? But I think I have other choice, then I could, give the meat to someone else. Because here we have, in the first stage, we have like a lot of, not a lot, like some lay people to come and work with us, to construct the vihara, the sala, so we can, leave that part to them. Yeah, it's okay. It's not against any of the teaching. And one thing that the Prajanandayani used to say, that you don't go, not every temple in Thailand vegetarian. Some temples, some monastery eat meat as well. So Prajan said, don't go on alms round and then tell people that vegetarian only. You cannot do that. You cannot do, can I get that one? Can I get that one? Or maybe just vegetarian. No, you just accept whatever people give you. But if you go like for a long time, like maybe 1 month, and around 1 month, and then you can say like, uh, or maybe when the lay people ask like, oh, where's your monastery and how you do and how you live, and then you can say, okay, we are vegetarian, something like that. But don't just go, because for some people, for the monk who eat vegetarian, they say like, maybe you try to, like show, or like that you more strict than other temple or something like that. So it's not that good to, just tell people that. You just accept whatever you get, and then use panya, wisdom, to decide on your own. Mm.
Yeah, one more important thing on the topic of meat is the Buddha said when we do eat meat, that we should remember what it is. So if we are eating meat, then we should be reminding ourselves, this is the dead body of a sentient being. So this used to be a body, just like this body. This used to be the body of a sentient being, just like me. So this also changes our relationship. The Buddha also said that we should see food as like we're eating our own dead children. So again, if we're going to eat meat, then we should do so in a sober, somber way. So not being, as Venerable Khemavamsi was saying, not to be all excited like, yay, I get to eat meat, but instead being like, oh, this is the dead body of a sentient being who could be my own child. Then you might still eat the food, but you will eat it with a much different attitude, a much more somber attitude. So we have another question here from Dan. Dan says, could you speak on the relationship between the alms round and nibbana, supporting the ability for beings to realize nibbana in the world? And I'll just briefly say on this that the ability to live on alms round makes it much easier for Buddhist monks to practice non-attachment, to practice non-preference, and to live a very simple and peaceful life, which is very supportive to the training of the mind. So it's actually quite different. So when Buddhism went to places where it was not possible to do alms round, and the monks started having to work a lot and started having to grow their own food and started having to collect money in order to buy food, then the lifestyle changed and it became much more complicated and much more difficult. So being able to live on alms makes it much easier to live a very simple life of non-attachment and non-preference with few complications, with few duties, with few problems. So it's very supportive to our practice. And also, as mentioned, it gives lay people the opportunity to make offerings to the Sangha. So if we just live in a hermitage in the middle of nowhere and grow our own food and buy our own things, then nobody gets to offer food to the Sangha. So that would mean we were preventing people from making merit. So also the act of going alms round is giving people the chance to make offerings to monastics and to build up their own spiritual karma in that way. Venerable, do you have anything you'd like to add to this topic?
Yes, I agree with the Bhante about yeah, with what you said, and also I would like to add on the like the practice of khanti, right? And also when we do the arms round, we don't just go with the monkey mind or wandering mind. We just see the tree, see the flowers, not like that. But when we go, we tend to go with the mindfulness. We have to walk, and then here we're gonna ask the new samaneri, right? What do you use? Like for the kammatthana or meditation subject, right? Meditation subject. What do you use? Sometimes when I walk with the new samaneri, and then I just stop midway, I just turn around and then ask, what you using? Puttanusati, do you recollect of the Buddha? Dhammanusati, or you use the loving kindness, or what meditation subject that you use? Because you have to use this opportunity to meditate, while walking, Kayanupassana, something like that. When we do the meditate, we don't, just sit in the monastery or do the walking meditation in the monastery, but you can use this time to, go arms round to meditate as well. Walking meditation, walk with mindfulness, and then maybe, like practice the chanting or, you know, walk with the Buddha, with the Puttanusati. So, or with Satipatthana, the four Satipatthana. So it's the practice that support, in the way that lead to the Nibbana as well, that we have to be mindful all the time. And, maybe when you see things, oh, this house used to be here, but this like from the real life experience. When we survey the street that we're gonna, the Pindapata, because this is the new branch. The first time I remember there's one old lady. She came to give the food to us. And like, okay, this is like the first house. Okay, we arrived here like I don't know the 6:30 or something like that. And then next next week, just next week, and then we came back here and then oh, where where did she go? Something like that. Okay, maybe she's sick or something. And then another the second week, okay, she's not here. And then the third week, the house gone. So we know like, oh, she passed away, and maybe her children just like get rid of the house or something like that. So we see that okay, when we people born and then sick, sickness and then aging and then death is just the more normal in life. And it's while we do the pindapata and then we see things that change, then keep reminding ourselves of the anicca, dukkha, and anatta. So this is a good way of practice, in real life experience. Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you. And here's a short one. Maybe you can answer this one as well. R. Woods asks, is preference a hindrance?
Yes. Yes. Preference, like I like this one, I don't like this one. So when you like and then you want this one, so it's lopa as well, right? So it's one of the kilesa, the lopa. So when we live on alms, it's just to reduce the lopa, reduce the preference, reduce the old self that is picky, and then I like that, I don't like this one or something like that. And you just live the life that is easier, and then with no attachment, with um no greed, and then yeah, the greed is the low part and the preference as well. So it is considered a hindrance, the kilesa, the unwholesome quality that you should get rid of it. Mm, that's what I think.
Good. Thank you. And Niranjan says, most of Mahayana and Vajrayana monks are non-vegetarian. Actually, the East Asian Mahayana, so Chinese Buddhist, Korean Buddhist, um, Vietnamese Buddhist, most of those are vegetarian. And Vajrayana monks are, most of them, as far as I'm aware, are not vegetarian. Also, many Theravada monks are not vegetarian. So it's, as far as I'm aware, it's only in the Chinese Mahayana that vegetarianism is pretty much everyone. In the rest of the Buddhist world, some monks are vegetarian and some are not. And P. Lee says, how does one practice mindfulness of eating? Well, one thing which is really useful is just to focus on the physical sensations. So as you're eating the food, pay attention to the feeling of the muscles in your jaw, to your tongue as your tongue is moving the food around your mouth, to the feeling of your teeth chomping. So paying attention to all the physical sensations happening in the mouth. And as you're swallowing, pay attention to the feeling of the food going down your throat and into your stomach. As the food starts settling in your stomach, paying attention to how the stomach starts to feel more heavy and bloated. So noticing the feeling of the fluids, so the saliva in your mouth and the fluids in your stomach. So paying attention to the body sensations throughout the eating process. And this is very useful because often when we're eating, we get into this kind of like crazy like feeding frenzy of like, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. And the mind becomes very agitated and just fixated on the pleasure of eating. So instead, when we eat in a more calm, relaxed way, and we focus on feeling the physical sensations of biting and chewing and swallowing, and then it becomes a mindfulness of the body practice, and it starts to make the mind more calm and peaceful. Another practice which can be useful is to pause for a second after each mouthful of food. So take a mouthful of food, chew it, swallow it, and pause for 1 second. Then take another mouthful. So instead of just doing this constant activity, instead take one bite, stop, then take another one. So just incorporating short pauses can make a big difference. Venerable, do you have any comments on this one?
Thank you, Bhante. Regarding the practice mindfulness while eating, right? Just as you said, the sensation, the movement, and also, like the movement, like the action. Have you like, eat and then, the rice or the noodle just drop before, the spoon enter the mouth? That means that you're not mindful, right? So, or maybe when you like bite your lips or bite your gum, something like that, so you're not mindful. So when you practice, you can, be aware of the movement and like, okay, um I'm not sure that it's in Thailand, but Prajan Thong in Chiang Mai, he, I think it's from Prajan Thong, from the Burma technique. I think that we use like tak no kun no, we have to like recite like every step, like up, come, and then touch, and then open the mouth, and then enter, and then out, and then close the mouth, and then show. I used to try this when I was like a teenager, and it's just like, so frustrated because I don't like this, but Prajan forced me to do. So it's good to see the mind that no, it's not okay, full of, anger, full of, like the greed, the low part that want to eat like fast because it's delicious, something like that. So it's another technique that be aware of the movement, thing like that. But what I like to do, while eating, I like to see the mind, when the flavor, when the food that you like, like I like this flavor, and then enter the mouth, and the saliva just like chew, right? Just, oh, so good. But just see the feeling. Keep watching the feeling. Okay, it's good. Oh, yummy, yummy, delicious, delicious. And then see the happiness just fade away, fade away, fade away, and then just, oh, cease. So the happiness just arise and then cease. Oh, not much time. Okay, now another one. Try and then keep watching it, watching, watching, watching until it ceases. So I like to do this, but it's gonna take a long time to eat. So it's just like for the experiment, yeah, for the experiment, and it's good to see that even the happy feeling, the sukha vedana, is not gonna last forever. So you have to ask yourself, like, you really need to have, just for the flavor but not good for your health, or not that, delicious but good for your health, for the, nourishment of the body, something like that. So it's one thing that you all should try, to see the mind when eating. It's kind of fun.
Okay, very good, thank you. And Jojo asks, which sutta reflecting when one eats meat, contemplate it was the body of a sentient being, which could be your own child? So that's actually combining two things. So the thing of reflecting that meat is the body of a sentient being, that actually comes from the Vinaya Pitaka. And I don't have the sutta don't have the reference for exactly where that is right now. I would have to find it. But the one about seeing food as being like your own child is from the Puttamangsa Sutta. So I just put the link to that one in the comments. It's Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 12, sutta number 63, Puttamangsa Sutta. So you can have a closer look at that one. And Ayya Brahmavara says, thank you for this great exploration of the value of alms mendicancy and our relationship to food. So thank you, Ayya Brahmavara, for your comment. It's good to see you joining in. And that's the last of the questions and comments. So I think we can go ahead and conclude at this time. So thank you very much, Ayya Khemavamsi, for joining our Dhamma program this morning. And thank you for all your wonderful reflections and comments. And we can conclude at this time with 3 sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you again, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much.